everybody, today we're going to be talking about cover letters. I found that most juniors have not written a cover letter, so hopefully this will help you start that process. So let's start out with just the purpose. Why do we write cover letters? One of the reasons is it's just another piece of the puzzle to help show off why you would be the best person for that employer. What qualifications do you have? Why should they hire you? It expands on your resume. There's more room to give more information about the experiences you've had, the education you've had, and it's going to help call attention to your resume. So you might point them in that direction of finding even more information besides what they're reading on that letter. It expresses your interest in a position. So why do you want this job? What exact job do you want? And it directs your resume to the right person. It gets your information to the person that is actually doing the hiring. So before you start writing, there's some things that you should do. Resumes are fairly easy to write without as much brainstorming. You might have to kind of go back and think about what you've done, but with a cover letter, there's a little bit more to it. One thing you should probably do is research the company, and that's going to help you in writing the letter. It's also going to help in other parts of the process of finding a job. In interviews, when they ask questions like, why do you want to work here? If you don't know anything about the job, why do you want to work there? So it's going to help a lot when you know as much as you can about the company. It helps personalize your letter for that company. It's not just a generic letter that you could send to anybody. It's a letter that will show them that you're really interested and that you've taken some time to find out about them. Another thing you should do before you start writing is just do some brainstorming and think about what are my best qualities, my best selling points, my best experiences that I have that would make me the best person for this job. Those might be the same from job to job. They might be a little bit different depending on the qualifications and what that company is looking for. You might want to take a look at the job postings and find out what that company wants and what kind of qualities they're looking for in an employee, and use that to your benefit as you're writing your letter. So cover letters are broken up into 3 paragraphs. So I'm going to talk about what should be in each paragraph next. The first paragraph is going to be your introduction. It's who you are, why you're writing, giving them that basis of what this letter is for that they're reading. You want to try to grab their attention. Employers, especially ones that have a stack of resumes on their desk, they don't tend to take a lot of time to read through every letter on their desk. They don't have time. So you need to grab their attention and make them want to keep reading. You want that professional look right away so that they know that this might be a potential good person to hire. You're also going to discuss the position you're applying for. Which position do you want? Why do you want that job? Just a little bit of an introduction. And that can be important too if the company has many different jobs available, that they know where you're best suited for that job or for which position they have available. Also tell them how you heard of the job. Maybe you saw an ad in the Daily Chief. Maybe you saw a posting online on monster.com. Maybe it was from a friend who works there. If you have a friend that works there and they told you about the opening, put their name in the letter. Sometimes that helps give you a connection, maybe a little bit of an in, that employer can go to that person and say, hey, this person just applied. They say they know you. What do you think? Would they be a good fit? And sometimes that helps you out in the long run. The second paragraph is going to be your longest paragraph. It's really where you want to give the qualities that make you the best person for that job. You want to hopefully help entice them to look at more information about you. So this is where you're going to refer them to your resume. You might say something like, as you'll see on my resume, I worked at McDonald's for 3 years. And then you can talk a little bit more about those experiences, how that would help you if you were hired on this new job. It gives that preview of what they'll see when they keep looking at more information about you. That information should complement what you have on your resume, not just saying the same thing again. use that to your advantage, that you now have more room to talk more about those qualifications that you have. And then what can you do for the employer? Kind of tie things to, here's my experience, and this is how it would help me if you hired me on the job. Typically they say 1 or 2 qualifications, but I've found in the past sometimes people put, I'm a hard worker and I'm always on time. It doesn't really give a lot of information. So if you want to talk about your skills, expand on that. Give some examples. What can show that you are a hard worker or that you've been dedicated? What experience have you had in the past with your job or at Sentinel or wherever that might be that would make you qualified for that job? Tell them more than just 2 little skills and that's it. Think about your top selling points. What would be the best things to help you get the job at this company? As much as you can, give some specific examples, things that you've achieved, problems that you've solved, something that would show that the things they're looking for, you can do, and how that is going to benefit their company. And then your last paragraph is your closing paragraph. You want to answer the question, what happens next? And when it comes to finding a job, the next step in the process is an interview. So you want to show interest in an interview and actually say you're interested in an interview. Something like, I'm really interested in coming in and meeting with you for an interview so we can talk about my qualifications. Something to show that you want to go on to the next step. And actually say that you want an interview. Don't just say, I'd like to meet with you sometime. Say that you're interested in that interview. It shows a little more confidence. Now, when it comes to contact with the employer after you've sent your information in, it's good to tell them in that 3rd paragraph that you'll contact them on a certain date and confirm that they have actually received your resume and your cover letter. Sometimes things happen, it gets lost in the mail, it goes to the wrong person's desk, and it just doesn't make it to the right person. That would be an opportunity for you to make contact with them, make sure they got the information, see if they need anything else. It is not a time to set up an interview. Although for the employer, they may use that opportunity if they're interested while you're on the phone to say, hey, let's set up an interview. But you should not be pushing that fact that you're going to call to set up the interview at that date. Also give them your contact information. Yes, your contact information might be on your resume. It might be on your application. But you want to make it very easy so they don't have to look for your information. It's right there for them. It could also be with your contact information that you tell them the best times of day to reach you. Here's my phone number, you can reach me anytime after 3 o'clock. Whatever that time might be, and then it's not that phone tag of going back and forth trying to get a hold of each other. And then thank them for their time. If anything, sometimes some people can set themselves apart by just being polite. So thank them for their time and consideration. It shows manners, and like I said, sometimes it's an easy way just to set yourself apart. All right, just some general tips for writing your letter. First thing would be to adapt your letter to the specific job. You don't want it to be that generic letter you could send to anybody. You want to show that you've done some research, you've personalized it, you've taken some time to make the letter for that company. Like I said before, you want to try to address the letter to a specific person. Find out who's doing the hiring. A lot of times that's in the job posting. For example, at the high school, if you were applying for a position, a lot of times that letter is directed to the principal. If it's not in the job posting, try to find out who that person would be so that you can address it to them and it goes directly to them. A good way to find that out would be to call Human Resources and tell them you're interested in applying for a job and you'd like to know who to address your information to. They should be really good at being able to tell you that information, answer any questions you have, so they're a good resource to find out that information. Make sure you proofread, run spell check. Unfortunately, our first impression, or their first impression of you, is through paper. And if you're sloppy, if you have misspelled words, if you have a lot of things that simply could have been found by running spell check, it's going to appear like you weren't as didn't put as much time and effort into it as you maybe should have. Also, we've all had those times where you run spell check and it just doesn't pick something up because it's spelled correctly, it's just not the right word. So have somebody read through it, you read through it. Make sure it's a really good copy before you send it out. Lengthwise, your letter should be no more than a page. You're not going on page after page after page telling them your entire life story. They're not going to read that. Give them the information they need and format it so that it fills a page. It should look nice on the page. It shouldn't be like half a page and that's it. Format it so it looks nice and fills the page. But again, it shouldn't go on to more than one page. Be confident you're the best person for the job. You're really excited about the possibility for this job. A lot of times employers are more impressed by that person who really wants that to work for that company. It's a little bit better than somebody who just wants a job. They tend to do a better job if they're really interested in that particular company. A few more tips. Keep a copy of the letter before you send it. Save it to your drive, save it to your computer, print out a copy and have it, whatever that might look like for you. But a couple reasons for that. One, if they lose it, you don't have to start over from scratch and rewrite the letter. It gets lost in the mail, it doesn't get to the right person, you have it. You look very prepared. The other reason for that would be if you're applying to other jobs. You can't just send them the exact same letter because you personalized it for that first company. But now you can take that kind of outline of a letter and you can personalize it for this new company. So you have a starting point instead of redoing the entire thing. Yeah, you might have some things that you have to completely rewrite, but it's a starting point. Another thing to think about is try to focus on what you can do for the employer. So if you can really illustrate for them why you're the best person for the job and what you can do for them, that can set you apart and let them really see why they should hire you. Never use a form letter. Basically, a form letter is like what credit card companies or colleges send out. You're probably getting some of those things in the mail. It's to whom it may concern, and they send that, make 1,000 copies and send it out to 1,000 different people. You don't want your letter to feel like that, I just need a job, I'm just going to send a whole bunch of letters out, they're all the same. You want it to be personalized. Your paper that you printed on should match your resume. So like I said, with resumes, you can get the fancy, nice resume paper. Usually it's a little bit thicker, it might have a little bit of a marbled effect to it. That would be very professional. You could also just use plain white copy paper. Whatever you use for your resume, though, you should use for your cover letter. Formatting-wise, you're going to use a standard business letter format. You've probably used that format before in computer applications. I have a document in Schoology that shows what that business letter format looks like, so check that out as you're formatting your letter. Basically, you have your address at the top of the page, with a date and the company information and address. And then for the paragraphs, everything's lined up on the left margin. You don't indent anything. Between each paragraph, you leave a space. At the end, you have your closing sincerely. You leave 4 blank lines, and then you type your name. And then between that sincerely and your typed name, when you print it off, you can sign your name. Again, it's in the Schoology folder, so check that out as you're formatting your cover letter. So your assignment is to write your cover letter. Do the best you can to personalize it. You pick a company that you could actually apply for now. Then you're not making anything up. It's actually your information. So if you have questions, please let me know. Good luck, and